And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here, Bastille Day, July 14th, and it's time for What Just Happened. So we look back at the insanity of the week, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that happened. Joined by Carole Montgomery, comedian, creator, and star, one of the stars of the Showtime stand-up series, Funny Women of a Certain Age, and she's performing at the Borgata, where she's closing, and she's earned it. Carole, how are you? How are you, Carole? How's it going? It's an inside joke.
Now, why can't I work with you three guys here? That would be fun.
They won't book me. Also, he's also here. It's Wali Collins, everyone. Stand-up comic, actor, producer. He has his own show on YouTube, Wait, What? With Wali Collins. He's appeared in numerous films, including Chris Rock's film Top 5. Wali, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well. I wish I was at the Borgata, though.
Well, and this guy, Scott Blakeman, who's a regular at the craps table at most casinos. He's not. It's stand-up comic. My good friend, we co-created Stand Up for Peace together. He's made countless TV appearances. He's been on the show countless times. It is Scott Blakeman. Hey, Scott, how are you?
It's great to be here, Dean. Actually, I'd love to do the Borgata. I can't even shuffle cards. So I have a long ways to go with that.
I haven't performed at a casino. I once did Borgata. I opened for Russell Peters. He had me open for him once. Years ago. He was big, but he was not as big as he is now. Yeah. And it was fine. It was all Russell's people. Like the whole crowd was just Russell's people.
Right.
So they weren't, I don't know what a real life experience is like at Borgata because of that. Getting back to Borgata's in Atlantic City, it's where a lot of comics perform. So let's talk about GOP racism on parade, a two-pronger. Let's first start with Tommy Tuberville. On Monday, Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, who already in the past, just a few weeks ago, said white nationalists are Americans. I guess technically he's correct, but he was defending them. That was his tone. It wasn't like they're all Americans or there's good and bad Americans. It's like, but they call them white nationalists. I call them Americans. Well, on CNN, Caitlin Collins pressed him. And she said a white nationalist is someone who believes that the white race is superior to other races. It's racist. And Tuberville goes, that's just some people's opinion. I'm like, that's interesting. So it's just some people's opinions that white supremacists are racist. He's right, because some actually join with them and are really happy. Wali, for obvious reasons, let's start with you here. What do you think, my friend? Is it just some people's opinions?
Wali, I don't know. Is he a closer?
I think you're asking because I'm left-handed. That's why
he's
you're
left-handed. He is the chip in the cookie, the joke of his that I'll always remember forever. I always remember that. It was it's stuck in my brain. It was very sticky. I'm like, what an interesting way of putting it. Like one of the few black people where he used to work. So, But Wali, is it just opinion? Like, it's really warm today and white supremacists aren't racist. I mean, are there opinions that are within the plausible discussion that we do in our society and civil society, or others that were like, no, that's not an opinion. That's pretty much a fact.
Yep. I really think that a lot of white folks don't think that they're racist or, they're against other colors. I say that they just don't get it. Because their lives, basically, they don't have to deal with brown or black people. And so they think the world is just great. But then when, they deal with black folks, it's probably for, a very short period of time. And my phone just went off. And for a short period of time. And so they think they're doing the American thing. And, racism is definitely, woven in the fabric of America. This country basically was founded and it became famous because of racism. And so after, slavery, then it became Jim Crow, and then we had those civil rights. It always was, a racist thing. So, and if you live in a world where you don't have to battle that, there are no problems. I'm just being an American. That's all they see. I'm just being an American.
Right.
And that's it. And so I look at nationalists or supremacists or whatever, and a lot of white folks, they're great people. Some of my friends are white. And but I just say that they just don't get it. And how can you get them to get it? How can you get them to understand that there is, prejudice and racism that is, very, specifically woven in this country?
I don't know how you convince them of that because they don't believe it. Polls show of Trump supporters that a solid majority believe discrimination against white people is just as bad as it is against black people and brown people. I'm like, I don't think we define the word discrimination the same there because it's vastly different, right? It's not historical and it happens all the time. So, Carole, what about you? What's your reaction to another Republican again? It's sort of like Trump, the good, both sides, good people bullshit. But now you got Tommy Tuberville. He doubled down until he finally got so much heat. He goes, okay, I'm against racism. Like he came out like that. He's like, okay.
Well, what I think is what's happened as far, I mean, I agree with everything that Wally was saying, because this country has been founded on that. I mean, the people who wrote the Constitution were slave owners. So hello,
Yeah.
but the white supremacists are Nazis. And like there was a great meme that I posted. It was Indiana Jones punching a Nazi, and the theme was college professor punch out a Trump supporter.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, guys, the problem with Schmucko, as I like to call him, racism has always been in this country. Schmucko gave people who were racist the chance to be racist out loud, because that's just the truth. And the fact that he hasn't been what's the word, censured or something,
Imprisoned? How about imprisoned's the word?
Yeah, well, let's go, but I'm talking about Tommy Tuberville. He's a
Tommy Tuberville, censured by the senator, like they vote to censure him.
I mean, like, it's like, how do you're working with people of color in the Senate, and you have the nerve to go, yeah, but these are the same people that say that January 6th was just a lovely vacation through the Capitol.
Well, I had a Trump supporter yesterday who tried it when I just happened to ask about January 6th. That wasn't caused by Trump. And you really can't, at this point, there's no changing their view on that.
No.
All I can do is say, well, if you even if you admitted Donald Trump incited January 6th, you would still support him. And that's the truth. Like it's like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Did Donald Trump attempt a coup? It's no longer debating. It's just asking if he really did, you would still support him. Of course they would. I mean, of course they would.
If the January 6th rioters were people of color,
oh please,
it had been a whole different thing.
Of course it would be.
A whole different thing, man.
Or Democrats. So Scott, what is your take on Tommy Tuberville? Who is he appealing to? He's an Alabama football coach. He coached a lot of places.
He's a son from Alabama.
Well, first up, I mean, I agree with Wally that obviously this has been the roots of our country is based in racism. But what's different now, as Representative McGovern said, now they don't even try to hide it. There were code words, or dog whistles, all that stuff. They just come out and say it. And first of all, a white nationalist and a white supremacist is no difference. A white nationalist is a white supremacist with low self-esteem. That's like, maybe I'm not that great, but I'm better than the others. So and they are dangerous. And they, look, Trump didn't invent it, but he unleashed it. And it's very, as Carole said, it goes hand in hand. They're racist, they're anti-Semitic, they're anti-Asian, and this whole effort that Tuberville is spearheading too. He supposedly he's a patriot, he's an American. He's the biggest traitor to our country for a million reasons. One, for being a racist and ignorant person, but for 7 months now, he's held up every major military nomination. They can't even appoint a new Joint Chiefs of Staff, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, because he doesn't think that service people who put their lives on the line for our country cannot travel to another state to get an abortion if their state has restricted abortion laws. So that's going to be in this House bill that they just passed. They tacked it onto the defense spending bill, but it won't pass. And Tuberville, another thing, in 2022, he said at a rally, he said, the Democrats, they're pro-crime. And the people they want reparations for, those are the people who do the crime. So he's saying that all Black people are criminals, when obviously statistics actually are the opposite, that most crime are committed by white people. But I mean, look, he's an ignorant person. And sadly, these people, and the one who said on the House floor, yesterday, Crane, was it about referring to colored people, which is a term you wouldn't expect to hear in 2023. They don't hide it anymore. So, because it appeals to their base.
But also,
I think it's, to be honest, I think it's good that they are out, because the one's hiding, and it's all like underground, whatever. But I really think it's almost like a cis or a zit, or like a, you know what I mean? Like let it come to the top, whatever, and then we can pop it and get all that pus out.
And by the way, so what Scott was saying, Congressman Eli Crane from Arizona yesterday, he's an election denier. He's supported by Donald Trump from Arizona, on the floor debating about this bill for the military. And he's like, the idea, he said, I don't care who's in the military, even, it's like, this is not what it's about. If they're colored people, it's fine. And then he got immediate backlash from people. And he said, oh, can we change the record after he got a backlash to people of color? So could he have made a mistake? I guess it's always possible, but it doesn't seem like he did. So
I
Wally, I
think-
mean, the idea, Carol, what about you? What do you think the idea of, this guy on the floor, if you're going to use colored people on the floor of the House, what are you saying in private about black people?
But that's why that's what I was going to say.
Ah,
Now he wants it to be said that he said, please change it to people of color. But colored people is not what he's saying in private. He's saying way worse.
right.
Oh, yeah.
That's, I mean, if you're that comfortable on the floor of the House to say colored people, like, and if he said colored people, and right then I'm sorry, I meant to say people of color, I just screwed up. Be one thing, he did the whole thing. He was called out by Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, a Democrat who's black, who goes, "This is, strike this from the record. This is ridiculous." And you see the Republicans behind him when he said colored people, they were like this, like the like that's, I'm not kidding. I just did the impression. They're like, "Oh, this is not good. Are we?" Or they were like, "Are we here already? Now we can do this? We can say colored people." Wally, didn't you do a joke about what black people want to be called and it's changed over the years?
Yeah. Black, African American. I just think it's too long, too many syllables. I mean, if you're trying, to warn someone, a black person, don't get hit by a car. Watch out, African American. That's just too many syllables. Watch out, black guy. You see, boom, he'll turn around and go back to the curb. But African Americans just too long, too many syllables. So I like black.
You like black.
I like black.
Chat with Carole Montgomery, Wali Collins, and Scott Blakeman. So, Scott, you just touched on it. They've just voted now in the House on this amendment that Crane who's a military veteran, was championing. And what it's going to do is deny abortion access to a Pentagon policy trying to reverse it, which in the Senate, Tommy Tuberville is trying to reverse. It's going to bar transgender health services and limit diversity training for military personnel so that we have an all-white army, I guess. I mean, is that what they want? Is that the goal, an all-white army? Just a lot of...
Well, this is going along with not just in the military, but with education. People like DeSantis, they're trying to get rid of diversity inclusion departments, and with the affirmative action bill, a decision by the Supreme Court. What people don't talk about, it's really going to impact just having those programs in colleges, and so they're rolling the clock back so many years, and again, it's anti-American, it's anti-patriotic. These are people serving our country. They deserve every right. What we need to do in this country too, unfortunately, some people don't realize that civil rights, you can't pick and choose, and some comedians may do jokes about trans people in a negative way, but to me, it's exactly the same. The gay rights, trans rights, black rights, Jews, Asian American, it's all hate. It's all the same thing. And we really need to stand up more against this. And because it's also out of step, I think, with most of the country, except the really ignorant, MAGA base. But most people really have progressed to the point where they realize everyone's entitled to equal rights.
Well, I got to tell you something. So this, years ago, when I was talking to my dad about abortion rights, and I was like, Dad, and there's so many people against abortion. And he said something to me that I thought is so brilliant, and I think it still holds true. He goes, Carol, he goes, most people are pro-choice, but the anti-abortionists are the loudest. Right. And what's happening now is you're seeing all of these assholes, the whole group in Congress, the ones that do it for the TikTok views or whatever the fuck that is, they're the loudest. And the problem is, and this is one of the questions that's obviously that you sent to us, the Democrats are like such pussies when it comes to like being low. Hey, wait a second, so the problem is it's a very small base. This is the problem that drives me crazy, is that these people are a small part of what America is. America is pro-choice, and they're pro-civil rights, because we went through this in the 60s and we worked, and it was everyone together, all colors, working to get civil rights for people. And these motherfuckers decide, yeah, we want to be loud. We want to be whiny. We want to we're going to get a selfie now. I'm going to get a selfie in front of a Nazi flag because that's going to give me more likes. And that's what's happening. But I still believe that most Americans are like, what the fuck is happening to this country?
There's a big part of it. And Wally, there's no doubt they want to go backwards. I mean, this is not like conservatives who just want things to stay the same. They want to go backwards on abortion, backwards on diversity, backwards on civil rights. I can't believe, I mean, the fight continues. It never ends. I was at an event this week. I got invited to the vice president's house, not the White House, but Vice President Kamala Harris' house.
Nice.
And it was for the Eid. It was for the Muslim holiday. And I talked about it on the show, but she had a great quote from Coretta Scott King. And I'm just going to read it because I liked it so much. Coretta Scott King said, struggle is a never ending process because freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. And the idea that struggle just continues, and you have to be aware that because we've made progress, it's not like we made progress and we're done with that one, folks. We got abortion rights. No, it's like you want it and they're coming for it on everything. So I don't know where else they're going next. I guess marriage equality, civil rights, denying service to Black people again. I mean, why wouldn't we go down that route if that's what they want to do? They're the same. They're no different than people in the 60s. It's no different. They're the same people.
Yeah, I really think that it's a small group that's allowed, like Carol was saying, a small group that's allowed. So, the old saying, or a squeaky wheel gets the grease, gets the attention. And, because the majority of people just don't want to deal with that. They just want to go on with their lives, go to the grocery store, go to work, hang out with their families. But you get that small group that's like want to complain about something. And then that's when we're all shocked, like, oh, wait, you want to end abortion? Oh, okay. And then the majority have to kind of like regroup. Yeah. Meanwhile, that small group are focused and they're kind of like steps ahead. Like, no, we got that taken care of. Like, wait, you want to stop women's rights to their own bodies? Wait, what, you know what I mean? And I think that's what the kerfuffle is all about. It's like people are just kind of like, wait, you caught us off guard. Talking about, civil rights, taking away civil rights. We thought we were cool with that, in the 70s. And basically civil rights is for white women anyway, but that's a whole nother story. But it's, but yeah, so we thought we were cool. We thought, we're okay, let's move on. We got that done. And then you get that small group and then we get like, oh, wait, we got to go back to that. So I just think it catches off guard. And it makes for great TV. It makes for great media coverage, just the silliness of it, it's like, just progress. This always bothers me is that this country, we have everyone from all over the world. There's no other place like that on the planet where people come from all parts of the world. Right. And the different cultures. You go to New York City, Second Avenue, there's every restaurant, every country represents a restaurant, or a restaurant represents a different country. Sure. You can go to Second Avenue and you can get food, culture from all over the world. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But for some reason, that small group says, no, we don't want that. We're going to pick and choose what we want, but it's going to be to our advantage.
Well, but what's interesting about this is, like, I remember being in high school. I went to a very Italian American high school, and everything. And most of the people, like when I would go into New York, like I'd go see a show or something, and they're like, this is literally their reaction. You're going into the city. Like so
the Italian Americans didn't want you to go to the city. They were concerned, or did they add they go, who runs that?
They didn't want to leave Brooklyn. They didn't want to leave.
Oh,
Brooklyn.
you were in Brooklyn. You were in New York. I didn't know that.
You are. That is the city.
But to take the train into the city, not for any other reason that it was the city. Like it was, they wanted to stay. Like, well, why? I'm going to go to this really great Italian place. Well, we got Italian restaurants on 86th Street. What are you going to? Like there's people that they stay in their own. I mean, there are songs written about people who where they go, I lived in this small town and I had to get the fuck out of there. But a lot of people are very happy staying where they are and not, like what you said. Oh, okay. We're just living our lives. You're like, well, he said, we're going to the grocery store, we're having fun. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, you mean God forbid my daughter gets raped or something, she can't have an abortion. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, maybe I should have been paying attention.
It's funny though, quick thing, Carol, because you live now in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So you move like 2 miles. Like you're saying, like these people, like I was thinking about it, like how parochial my life. I lived with my entire life within 15 miles from Paramus, New Jersey to Manhattan. And if you said that in any other part of the world, like, wow, you really lived like a sheltered life. You never got outside. So it's funny, you like literally like a mile difference, and it makes no difference.
Yeah, but I lived in LA for 10 years and then I lived in Vegas for 10 years. So I did. Oh, wow.
I didn't. I've lived my entire life within 15 miles, yet I have seen a lot of the world. Now, Scott, you've lived in the same room your entire life, which you're in right now.
Right.
So tell us.
I still have same posters on the wall, Mets 1969 World Series. No, actually, I do remember I grew up in Brooklyn, and Carol, I remember we'd say, I'm going into New York. Like, what was Brooklyn? Iowa? But that's what we always said. But I just want to get back to what we were saying is that I think and I hope that this version of the Republican Party is a dying party. And what dying parties do is they get desperate and they don't reflect the country on any of these issues. And sadly, with gerrymandering and the amount of money involved, politics, they're able to carve up these districts. And they do it because after the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, they can make it so that districts that are more diverse now or just have the people they want. And what happened is, places like Texas is very purple. It's changing. Look, Georgia, this is somebody I always refer to when I feel depressed. We have, Raphael Warnock, a black man, and Joel Ossoff, a Jewish guy, Senate of Georgia. So we have to focus on these states and not give up. And not, we can't let Tommy Tuberville. He should go back to coaching Northwest Arkansas, where he said, "Oh, I have no problem with black people. They were my players. Yeah, they worked for him. That he has no problem with that."
Right.
It's funny.
I will say this. I mean, like, when we're all bitch and we're angry and everything, but when the elections we just had the fact that the young people are coming out because they're pissed about the abortion thing. And if the Democrats are smart, that is exactly what they do. That whoever is the Republican candidate is, the Republicans overturned Roe v. Wade. That should be every fucking commercial that the Democrats do, because that's what's going to get people out, because that's the one subject more than anything else that I'm like, you bastards, how dare you?
And Schmucko, as you call him, said at the CNN town hall, he literally said, I terminated Roe v. Wade. That was exactly what that's going to be playing.
Well, they should take that clip.
Of course, they're going to
take that goddamn clip and they should run it.
They will.
Because young women, let me tell you something. Young women are, first of all, young people are so apathetic, but young women are like, excuse me? You're telling me what I can, they're pissed. They're the way I was in the 60s when we were trying to get Roe v. Wade passed the first time, and now I just realized how fucking old I am. Thank you for that.
No, I'm telling you, Carole Montgomery, Wali Collins, and Scott Blakeman. So before we go to break, I just want to get your reaction. So Donald Trump accused Joe Biden of taking cocaine before speeches, and my reaction, like, I have no problem with that. Like, if Joe Biden's 80, wants to take some coke before his speech, it makes him better. Look, it was used for medicinal purposes a long time ago. I don't care what kind of stuff. I don't care if he's shooting things at Biden, it makes him a better president, more alert. Well, as long as he's doing his job. So I'm like, like, who is this for? Like, the idea. Wally, what do you think? Do you care if Biden, is there a drug you would be upset if Biden was actually on it, was making him perform better as president? Is there anyone you draw the line at? Like, I'm
gonna tell you something right now. He's got the best coke.
It's flown in. He's flown in on CIA, those black jets that you can't see.
Oh, he's got the refined,
from Colombia.
Like, Scarface echelon. It's like,
imagine that, like, the White House is like, it's just all like Scarface. You open it up, there's another room within the room. He's in there.
Smacks his face into that mountain of cocaine.
I'm the president. Like, how dare Scott? Is there any drug that you like? Because Trump, he's not on drugs. He's sober, and he does.
Although he does. In the debates, Trump would kind of sniff a lot, but I don't know about that stuff. But first of all, this is an example. I know we're going to touch on it later, maybe, Dean, but the mainstream media, and even, like, I'm just talking about Fox. I know they're all over it, I'm sure, but watching the CBS News, they don't cover Jenin and the Israeli assault on the camps and all that, but this is their lead story the other night. And this is a visitor's area. They didn't go in the Oval Office during a news conference and he had it on his desk. I mean, hundreds of that's why they couldn't find someone, because you have thousands of people going through. Probably someone said, oh, geez, I got my cocaine, I better leave it here. Something like that. But this becomes this huge story, and it's a waste of time. But I'm sure the right and right-wing media is still running with it. Think
about it. Someone was so irresponsible to bring cocaine in the White House, but responsible enough to check it. They're like, like, how ridiculous. Like, I brought cocaine. That's but I'll check it here. This is okay. Like, you're an idiot. What do you do? Step one. Like, and I heard people on the right, they're going, it's right down the hall from the Situation Room. So it had to be like where Biden goes. And then it turns out the Situation Room is under construction. They're not even using it right now. Yeah. And it wasn't that close to the Situation Room. So even their best argument ends up getting destroyed. It's remarkable. Carole, seriously, like, if we found out Biden was doing cocaine at the desk before speeches, would you go like, this is not good? I mean, I honestly would not care at all. I'd be like, if he's doing it and it's making him a better president, and he gets a prescription. I'm sure he can get someone to write it up for him. Like, you need cocaine. He's not doing it, folks. Just so it's clear, he's not doing cocaine. But even if he was, I honestly wouldn't care.
Well, first of all, I think it's probably left over from Don Jr.
Right. Don Jr.'s like looking around right now. He's like, what? My silver package.
Yeah, I mean, so, the fact that, well, Schmucko, all he does is project. So whatever he's doing is really what's happening around him. Like I tweeted something a while ago about this whole thing with Hunter, because I'm surprised. First, they were saying, of course, that it was probably Hunter's cocaine. Right. But the fact of the matter is, why the Republicans are full of shit is, Joe Biden was our vice president for 8 years. Did you hear anything about Hunter then? Did you hear anything about the Biden crime family? So it's when they talk about the Biden crime family, and when Schmucko does that, he's talking about his own family.
Sure.
So that's why anything he ever says, I go, that's adorable. So if he's saying that Joe Biden is doing cocaine, guess who's doing cocaine?
Schmucko.
Schmucko's
doing the coke.
Schmucko. You have to say it with the Jewish word.
Schmucko. The orange Schmucko. All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back. A lot to cover, including the big strike, the SAG-AFTRA. I don't know if you guys are even allowed to do this show, but we're gonna come back, talk about that more with Carole Montgomery, Wali Collins, and Scott Blakeman right after this. And ready? And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We are still live, Friday, July 14th, continuing with Carole Montgomery, Wali Collins, and Scott Blakeman. So
that break took forever, by the way.
That was a long break.
Jeez,
painful. Yeah, I'm glad you guys come back. I lose people on the break all the time. So the actors, SAG-AFTRA, one massive union on strike, 160,000 people with the WGA, the writers, and I've covered that on my show before. First time since 1960, they're both on strike. What was really interesting is one of the big concerns in both is AI.
Yes.
And I thought this was really interesting that the head of the SAG-AFTRA, the executive director, not Fran Drescher, the executive director, said that they want to do scan background performers and pay them once, and then use it over and over again, and other things like just digitally recreate them through AI. And I imagine so much could be abused there. So the actors are really concerned about AI. Scott, are you real or AI? Is this the real Scott? Talk to me.
We'll never know. But no, this is this is the first time, as you say, in 63 years, both is striking. And back in 1960, by the way, that president of SAG was then Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
And he actually did a good job in that case. I mean, things changed later on, and they got in 1960, they got residuals for the first time, because it was the infancy in television. So that was a huge, groundbreaking thing that has kept, actors and writers going, middle class.
I get a check for 9 cents all the time.
Yeah, but whatever it is, it really changed the landscape. And it was the first time a health plan and a pension plan was instituted. So that's why we needed that. Now is equally groundbreaking, because these studios and streamers, it's changed. It used to be 36 shows and you get paid throughout the year, and writers' rooms, and it was even in the 20s. Now you get maybe 8 episodes, and they're trying to make it per diem for writers, or as you mentioned, Dean, with the AI. So, as Fran Drescher said, nobody wants to strike. It's going to affect millions of people around the world, but it has to be done. It's the right thing to do. And there was some studio executive was quoted, anonymously on Deadline, saying that, let the writers starve, and it sort of, energized the writers, because there's a lot of things they'd rather do than be, picketing and all that. So it had to be done. And this is a real crucial crossroads right now.
Couldn't Fran Drescher do press conferences as the character from The Nanny? I mean, wouldn't that be better? Because she is the head of the SAG-AFTRA, and people know her from that. Didn't she have that weird laugh or that weird voice she did?
There's actually a clip of her where and her queens came out. She said something about, "It's over," and I was like, "Yes, Fran."
So,
by the way,
you're a show creator. Are you in both unions? Are you?
I am SAG. Okay.
You are SAG because you created that Showtime show. So what happens now? Like, why won't you give the actors a raise, Carole? why, as a producer, why are you going to be out there with picket signs? Give Sony and Apple a break. Stop it, you greedy actors. Like, you should be like Team Studio.
Well, even though I am the creator, it doesn't work that way, Dean. But thank you for fucking saying that shit.
I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding with you. It's the studio.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to pick up your hotel room. I was going to just that one person going back and forth.
Before that, I do want to say, because I was explaining this to my sister came with me to the casino and everything.
She usually closes too.
What?
She usually closes also.
She also usually closes. So I was trying to explain to her, and I think that it's important for the people who are listening to really explain what's happening, because it's in two things. I'll just talk about the actors. Okay, what Scott was saying is that when they got residuals, and we joke about the 9 cents and everything, but when you were on a hit series, let's say like The Nanny,
Right.
she made, obviously Fran made her money from that show, but it was about the fact that she made millions more when it got sold into reruns.
Mhm.
And that's with Seinfeld, that's with any show that you see that's on, like well, it's different now, but the Channel
UPN,
5 or
right,
Channel
right.
9,
Frasier.
that's where you made your money. Okay,
Mhm.
so what's happened is with the streamers is, and I can tell you this just from my and not that my show is originally on Showtime and then streamed on Showtime. What happens is none of the networks will give you the information about how you did. Like you'll see, like with Mrs. Maisel, nobody knew what the
Ratings were.
ratings were, because they don't want you to know, because if you know, like if they would be able to say, then now we want more money. So what happens is with the streamers now, they get paid a set fee. Now for Maisel, because it was a hit, I'm sure it's a high fee, but the actors don't get, in other words, when you go and watch Seinfeld on a Saturday night on Channel 5, he gets money from that. Now, when you watch Maisel, because you can watch the whole episode, you can watch all 12 episodes, there's no way of knowing how many people are watching. So they're like, well, we just paid you a flat fee and there you go. And that's it. So what we're fighting for here is we should be getting paid more money for every time the show is seen. Everyone should get paid. Now, one other thing, and then I'll move on.
Yeah, if it's downloaded, right? That makes sense, because there's no secondary market.
Right.
That's what you're getting at too, because you
Right.
can't, they're not selling it from, Netflix is not selling a Netflix show to channel 7 where you live. Like it's all staying on Netflix forever.
Right. And so like you used to be able to make a lot of money, like you guys probably know this, but a lot of people don't know this. Paul Anka, who was a great singer and had lots of hits, the reason he became a multi-millionaire is he wrote the Tonight Show theme. So every time the Tonight Show theme played, he made money. That doesn't happen anymore. And that's wrong. I mean, with the writers, same thing what Scott said. Dick Van Dyke used to have 36 episodes. Now it's 8 episodes. I mean, how are you supposed to be able to make a living?
I'm going to write the theme for the Dean Obeidallah show right after this, and I'm going to play it every day forever. And that's a really good, that's a great explanation, Carole, about what's going on. And I had on Rama Yusuf, who's my friend, who's also a producer, show creator, and about what's going on from the writer's point of view, because he's in WGA and he's written on several shows, and what they're deeply, deeply worried over there, because artificial intelligence, AI is literally getting scripts, they're putting it into AI and it's looking at everything and then churning out like a first draft, and then they're having people polish it. And they're like, this is the end for us. This really is. Right. Wali, what about, you're in SAG-AFTRA, I assume? You're in SAG?
Yeah.
Are you on strike? Are you going down there? Are you going to, I don't know where down there is actually, but
down there,
someplace must be someplace. The unions, you're going to go to Longshore, you're going to go to the docks. Like, hey, stop unloading that stuff. I just saw Asif Manvi just a couple of days ago. I'm like, you should do a parody, like go there and say you're striking for the studios. Like, we don't have enough private jets. This is so unfair to us. Like, make fun of the whole thing. And he goes, it's funny, but he goes, I don't know if people would get it. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to sell it, Asif. You did the Daily Show for 9 years. You can do this stuff. And so I don't know if it's gonna affect Hen. My fiance is an actress, but she's in a play, so that's not affected coming up in the fall here in New York. So thankfully that goes on. I hope.
Yeah. I was going to say, Dean, that you're asking Wali about the picket. I'd love to go to the picket lines. My concern is I'll show up and say, nah, we're looking for a different type.
This guy got 2 callbacks at the picket line.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really, it's down to me and 2 others for the picket line.
I'm going to go picket. I'm absolutely going to picket.
But do you think, look, Carole, since you were the most animated in this, let me ask you, do you think the fact now the actors are out with the writers, it actually is going to force the studio to finally make a deal? Because it seemed like they were just, with the writers, they were just dealing with it. It seemed like they could just string it along longer. You have no actors. Hollywood shut down. That's it.
Yeah,
SAG-AFTRA, you're done.
I hope that they go, oh shit, they're not playing. But I don't know. I mean, I think absolutely. I'm so glad that that we're on strike, because it's Nobody's able to make a living. And there are many people in our union that are like, well, they're only talking about the top 1%. It's like, no, they're not, because the top 1% is also striking. Because if the top 1% is making $1 million from a hit series on a streamer, they should be making $10 million, because they should be making from the downloads. So
Right.
it affects everybody. So to me, I'm going to be on the picket line.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great. So, all right, let's move on. Let's chat about, well, it's related. Oppenheimer is opening, and the cast walked out in London to show their solidarity to the strike, which was kind of interesting. What's really weird is Barbie, the new movie's coming out, Oppenheimer the same day, and they're doing these double features, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer and Greta Gerwig's Barbie. And I'm like, how is that the same audience? Like, why would someone want to see a movie about Barbie and then the guy who developed the atomic bomb that killed 100,000 people? Like, how is that the same target audience? Like, Barbie, okay, Barbie's killed.
Barbie is a scientist also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I a Barbie scientist outfit. So
maybe Barbie develops the atomic bomb, and we don't even know. I haven't seen anything about Barbie. Are you guys, Scott, you like movies? Are you excited about either Oppenheimer or Barbie?
I definitely want to see Oppenheimer, and I will confess, I hope this doesn't dry up the jobs I'm not getting, but I had a Ken doll when I was 5 or something, and I would put football uniforms on. So you could read into that what you wish, but I'd rather look at it like I like retro sports jerseys. But anyway, I still don't. I'm happy though for the movies, because I was recently in Paris. I just had to throw that in. It was an incredible experience. But their cinema there, they have 300 movie theaters in Paris alone, 40% are art houses, and they're packed. They recovered from the pandemic beautifully. But the theaters are suffering here. People aren't going back. To me, there's nothing like being in a theater.
Did you go to a movie
SAG,
in Paris?
I was on the SAG-AFTRA nominating committee, and I love going to the screenings. And I think it's great. And Christopher Nolan said he's happy to talk about both films, because you get people, and I wouldn't want to see both back to back. I'd like to break it up and have a popcorn. But I think it's great, and I hope it encourages more movies to stay in theaters and open in theaters.
Did you go to any movie while you were in Paris to see what it was like, the experience?
I should have. That was one thing I didn't do. But
when you're in Paris,
I'd love to go to Italy and see Woody Allen's new film. Paris, September 27th. Coup de Chance is supposed to be great. It may not even open here in this country, which I think is a shame, to have one of our finest filmmakers not have a film open in the United States. I mean, there's no U.S. distributor yet. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But the cinemas in Paris are great. I didn't get to see one when I was there, but I'd love to.
It's not like people talk about you go to Paris, make sure you go see a movie. No one says
that. If I stayed a day longer,
Eiffel Tower overrated. Movie theater, you can smoke cigarettes and drink strong coffee the entire time. I can imagine it's a whole different experience. So my friend Carole, let's see. We'll talk about corporate media sucks, because this is a topic that I really near and dear to my heart, that corporate media is all about drama because it's ratings driven. And we get it, because there you see the ratings and they understand that's how they make their money. Right. And there was a hearing this week. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, testified, and all the media coverage was about that, Matt Gaetz was tough to Christopher Wray, or Christopher Wray gave back what he was getting, and that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, in the hearing, for the first time, we learned the FBI has created a special unit to deal with threats against federal prosecutors and the FBI that had been launched by Trump supporters. Like, I'm like, how is that not a headline? Like, we are seeing more and more of the right open, and when the media doesn't talk about it, it kind of normalized. Like, well, violence in politics to defend Trump, that's normal. We understand that's going to be. This is effed up. So, Carole, what do you think, my friend?
Well, the Republican Party is the party of law and order. So I don't, I think they're the party of Law and Order, the TV series.
Right. That's it.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. They're trying to change everything about America, because like the FBI is bad, and it's like. What's going to be funny to me is someday when these people wake up from their Kool-Aid and they go, how did we support a guy that is against everything America ever stood for? I have to tell you this, when my dad was alive, when his last few, he had dementia and everything. And so I was telling him when the president, when Schmucko was the president. And so I go to him, I said, Dad, I said, the president. He goes, no. I said, it's Donald Trump. And he looked at me and he went, you mean the guy whose casino I used to play at? So even with even with dementia, my father knew something was wrong. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that he and it's a direct correlation. The threats against the FBI is because of January 6th, which he didn't incite. But so how do you explain that? Like all of these things that are logical, when you talk to people about that, they go, Trump 2024, like there's no.
Well, right. That's it. There's never an answer to it. And, my mom, who had dementia, but it was like sort of mid-level, but she said she would understand things. She didn't have great memory retention, but she would say, when I brought up Trump, she'd go like, he's an asshole. I'm like, cause she's from Jersey, she's Sicilian. That's what she would really say. By the way, Wali, Trump said on Saturday, and they got more press this week, that if he gets elected in 2024, he wants to do an even bigger Muslim travel ban. And he said, I'm not kidding. We don't want people blowing up our shopping centers. We don't want people blowing up our cities. That's about us, Muslims. Wally, yet this guy defends the January 6th terrorists. Is this un-effing believable? He's going to pardon the January 6th terrorists, but the Muslims want to blow up shop. When's the last time a Muslim blew up a shopping center in America? Did I effing miss that? What is going on, Wally?
It is a proven fact that the most dangerous person in America is a straight white male.
Yep.
Every mass shooting, not every, but 95% of mass shootings, explosions, lynchings, anything violent against another human being, it's basically, you look at a white man, between 20 and 50. So yeah, I mean, that's a fact. So to say something that's so wrong and just so it's just scary to have that kind of power to say something that's so factually wrong, and people believe it.
Of course they cheer it. Scott, what do you think about the media, the corporate media, yet again showing that they will amplify drama over democracy over and over, because political violence enters democracy. They should be talking about this. This should be a bigger story.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they should also, as you've pointed out, Dean, should call some of these Republicans terrorists, because when you're threatening FBI, and insurrection is this heavy word, but in a way it's too polite. Those people were trying to kill members of Congress and Mike Pence and others. That was what they would have done had they had the chance. But I recommend that people, look, I'm really, like, as a journalism major from college and a news junkie, like I'm sure you guys are too, it's just very disappointing. I find the evening news, it's embarrassing that I still watch it to show us how old I am, but it's almost worthless because it's so pandering to coming up next. Here's a story you'll love, and coming up next, and inspiring. That no, they didn't. As I said, they didn't cover what's happening in Israel and the Jenin. They don't cover. You watch the World. I watch BBC World. I watch Deutsche Welle, obviously in English. France 24. They cover the stories. They cover climate change. Here, it's all about ratings and pandering to whatever audience is left. And it's really unfortunate, but that's where people, even I said that cocaine story, how is that a lead story? And you leave out climate change, you leave out everything else. So it's a big problem. It's all about money. And even with the strike coverage, all these networks and news are owned by the same studios and stuff that are, we're striking. So they're probably less likely to cover it too.
Right. There's not much coverage of the strike, and they're going to try to humanize the studio heads. Look at this poor guy now, what they're doing. Wally,
I'm going to tell you something. I watch TikTok. And I'm going to tell you, those are the videos of the people, not some kind of corporation just, filtering or funneling the stuff that you want to know. I learned so much about, not that submarine, that tin can submarine, that imploded, whatever. I found out about those 700 people, migrating in Greece. I learned so much from the people, so I go right to TikTok and bam, like the top story.
It's democratized. Right. It's democratized news source. It's also fragmented.
Get rid of it.
Well, look, we only got like a minute left, so I wanted you guys to be able to plug whatever you want. Carole, I know you're at the Brigada in Atlantic City. Where else can people find your work and what you're doing, your striking?
Yeah, go to funnywomenofcertainage.com. All of our dates are there, CaroleMontgomery.com also. But the big show that I really want to plug is we're doing a show with Julia Scotti and Leanne Lord, Funny Women of a Certain Age. I always say we're bringing the band back together. That's at the Norwalk, we're in Norwalk, Connecticut at the Wall Street Theater, July 29th, 8 p.m. Go to their website, click on it, get some tickets. It's, that I love all the girls I work with, but I have the most fun. I have so much fun with Julia and Leanne. They're just the best.
Leanne's been on the show many times, so
yes,
it's great.
July 29th, 8 p.m. Wall Street Theater in Norwalk.
And Scott, what about you, my friend?
Well, I always want to mention my podcast that I do with Tom Saunders twice a week called Getting Through This with Tom and Scott. That's a lot of fun. You can find it wherever podcasts. I'm going to be doing a temple in Orlando, August 19th, which was my request. They said, you wanted December? I said, no, I prefer August if you had it. So, but I'm looking forward to that. It's always fun to get on the road again, wherever it is. So looking forward to that. And scottblakeman.com and wherever else.
And Wally, what about you, my friend?
I don't have much, but on July 23rd, I'll be at the grocery store. But no, I'll be at the comic strip this weekend. But I'm doing a lot of traveling. I'm doing a lot of private corporate stuff. But I'm very happy, and
you're always busy. What's your website? What's the website?
You talking about the
your
YouTube?
website for to follow you?
Wali Collins, WaliCollins.com.
Nice. Thank you, all three of you. You were great. I really enjoyed chatting with you as always. We're going to take a break, come back with more of the show after this. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. That was a very fast,
it was a lot of fun, Dean.
Very fast.
Great to see you, Carole, Wally.
Have fun,
Dean.
Carole.
Thank you.
Yeah.